Okay, so we can start. We have a day to focus on the meaning and how to utilize the presence of the guru. There are many different ideas about the guru, but essentially, if you don't have any problems, you don't need a guru. So you can think of yourself as a little child in an orphanage. You never met your mom or your dad. Now this strange man arrives in your life and says, "Hey, I can take you to your mom." Quite a good idea to be suspicious. But life in the orphanage is not so good. So maybe you have to start trusting Papa if you want to get to Mama. The other famous example is that you shouldn't see the guru as a musk deer, in which the dharma is the musk pod, which is on the belly of the musk deer, with yourself as the hunter. If we think we can just steal dharma or take dharma without any gratitude or relationship, we will get many problems. Rather, you should see the guru as the doctor. The dharma is the medicine and you are the patient. That's why having some knowledge of your own problems and difficulties and limitations is very helpful. So if we get a good diagnosis and get some powerful medicine, we should probably take it. Of course, in the traditional systems that we read about with Milarepa and Marpa and so on, it's a very asymmetrical relationship. It seems that the guru is somebody very special. The guru is often referred to as Rinpoche, something rare and precious. But as Sia Lama used to say, there is nothing special. The guru can seem special because we are trapped in the false ordinary. The function of meeting with the guru is to find ourselves in the true ordinary. This true ordinary is the equalness of all that appears within emptiness. It is the excessive functioning of our own mind which creates hierarchies of value, so that we think this person is special or that person is special. So in Dharma, a general antidote to this is to start to take refuge. All the things that I ordinarily rely on and seem to experience as special are impermanent. But by taking refuge in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, I find a reliable refuge. But you have to remember that they're your refuge. We're easily distracted. So if you rely on a good idea, like thinking of the Buddha and all the Buddha's good qualities, that is good, but it's only good as long as you do it. So taking refuge in ideas about something is not so helpful. We have to find ourselves in the living presence of our own Buddha nature or intrinsic awareness. So the function of the seeming specialness of the guru is in order to release us from our ordinary attachments and fixations. Now, of course, you can take refuge in Padmasambhava. You can read about him in books and see many paintings of him. You can have a statue of him and give him water and flowers and incense. And the advantage of these Tanka paintings and statues is they just look at you. But flesh and blood gurus have moods. Why do they have moods? This sounds very bad. If they are the presence of wisdom and compassion, they should be kind and relaxed and friendly all the time. If they were pretending to be nice all the time, you could pretend to be devoted all the time. But if their behavior is disturbing, then you find, oh, I am disturbed. Then you can take that into your practice. The goal of the practice is to see that your mind and the mind of the guru is the same. When we do a short practice on Padmasambhava, this is the main function. Yesterday, we put up a new version in English of a short Rigzen practice. You can read that if you like and enter into it. We also have the commentary Being Guru Rinpoche, which gives great details about tantric practice. but they are mainly concerned with the idea of Padmasambhava, which depends on your faith and belief. But actual teachers you can meet and see. And then you find that you are judging them, that you like some bits of them and don't like other bits. This is why the texts say that the guru is good. So if the guru is good and you see the guru as bad, then this is a chance to recognize what your mind is doing. In the book that came out a couple of years ago, Finding Freedom, the middle section is a traditional text helping us to see that everything we experience is our own karma. Very interesting text, and the book will be available in German and Polish this year. Everything is my karma. My body, my mom, my dad, all my friends, my work, and my teachers. When you see that somehow you seem to be connected with a teacher, but you're not so happy with that person, you only have two possibilities. You can blame the person and accumulate evidence as to why they are bad, or you can observe the functioning of your own mind. As Milarepa said, when I understood Marpa, I understood my own mind. Marpa was a very naked person. He just showed himself as he felt. He could be kind, supportive, angry, mean-spirited, grieving. If we start from our ordinary assumptions, we might think, oh, that's very bad. I don't like to be like that. But we might be able to see, oh, I am like that. So if he is like that and he's supposed to be enlightened, maybe me being like this is not so bad. So we have to understand this. It doesn't mean that if you're an angry person, that means that being angry is good. It means that being angry is empty. It is the radiance of the Dharmakaya. If you see this, seeing means being with, opening to the emptiness of phenomena, opening to the empty ground of phenomena. This opening, this availability to how it is not helped by judgment. Judgment, opinion, gossip, these are all forces which support duality. Our commentaries that run in our mind, our prejudices, assumptions, accusations, all of these are grounded in the sense, I am real, you are real, you did this to me and I don't like it, or you are like that and I don't like it. So there is some ego advantage in being critical of other people and especially teachers. There's always something happening. We live in a stream of events. There's always something to think about and talk about. But we need to get away from that. We need to find the depth, the infinity of emptiness. In the world, if you want to function and have a job, you have to trust yourself. You have to trust your memory. You have to trust your capacity for planning. You have to trust your sense that you can make sense of other people. There is a clarity in this, but it's mixed with reification, with taking things to be strongly real and autonomous. And this is what makes the problem. A thought arises in your mind, I don't like this person. The ego, in its own hollowness, seeks content. So it merges with the arising thought. So the thought is not seen as a thought arising and passing through the mind, but rather it's seen as the expression of I, me, myself. So the object is not understood as it is, because every person we meet has many, many facets, many aspects to them. They are not just one thing. And I am able to hold many different opinions and thoughts about people. But when the statement, I don't like this person, is suffused with the feeling tone of aversion, then there is a confirmation of the reality of the subject, the object, and the dynamic connection between them. So we fall under the power of this very easily. In Dharma, there are many ways of dealing with this. In the paths of renunciation, we have taking vows to become a monk or a nun, to simplify our life, and to be avoidant of provocations. The problem with these paths is that they are not very clear about the nature of non-duality. I don't want to be a farmer because farming involves killing insects. So I will become a monk and beg for my food. So I'm dependent on you doing bad things in order for me to eat. In samsara, everything is joined together in dependent origination, and you can't separate the good and the bad. In the Mahayana tradition, we make an aspiration to benefit beings and develop our understanding of emptiness and our capacity for kindness to all beings. But this takes a long time. When we say that we will take the bodhisattva vow and work in this and all my future lives for the benefit of others, this is a very beautiful thought. But if we think, oh, how much do I remember about my last life and what I promised to do, then that intention hasn't traveled across even one death period. And the intention that I might make at New Year to eat less, perhaps that doesn't last even a week, because it's December and it's cold. And why would one not eat cake when it's cold? Yeah. So January is also cold, so why stop eating cake? So it's wonderful to say in this and all my future lives, but you have to have the capacity to know your vow when you're a little baby. So this kind of aspiration is a force of orientation to open you up. The teachers on that Mahayana path, they're often referred to as Gewe Shenyen or Kalyan Mitra, spiritual friend. But we are lucky because we come in contact with Tantra, and it's in Tantra that you have the function of the guru. The spiritual friend is like a guide in a museum. Oh, this is a Greek sculpture, it's very, very beautiful. But in Tantra with the guru, you go into the atelier, the workshop of the artist, and you see them carving the sculpture. Tantra means to link or connect or to weave together. The beginning of samsara, both, if you like, historically and moment by moment, is ignoring. To ignore something is to not see it. With profound ignorance, we really don't get it. It just doesn't register at all. But we also have the more self-deceptive kinds of ignorance, in which, for example, we know that the seasons are impermanent. We know that our bodies are impermanent, that food is impermanent, and yet somehow we talk as if we lived in a world of stability. So in, say, last summer in Britain, when people were talking about this coronavirus, they kept saying, oh, I can't wait to get back to normality. But the months go by and more people are dying and new strains of the virus are arriving. And maybe there won't be any normal to get back to. It will be life as it appears, maybe with the virus, maybe with injections every year or every 6 months. This is when we see, oh, that's what impermanence means. It's not just a variation on a theme, but the theme itself dissolves and some new tune arises, which we have to dance to. So Tantra is concerned with the flow of events as they link. There is nothing to grasp, but there is plenty to be present with. Subject and object are non-dual. They're not two separate things. Neither are they just one thing, but everything which manifests is also non-dual with the ground. We have all studied at least a little bit the Heart Sutra. Form is emptiness, emptiness is form. Everything we see is empty of inherent existence. It appears, so we can't say there's nothing at all there. And yet when you try to take hold of it, you find that you're holding on to ideas and words, and the thing itself is untouchable. And when you do this again and again, you see that thingness is a delusion. All appearance is empty. And the movement from this Mahayana critique to the practice of Tantra is to then see that all appearance is the appearance of emptiness. That is to say that appearance is dynamic and moving, and that we live in a world of the pulsation or the waves or the rays of this and this and this are here and gone. Now we hear these things and we may feel we have a good intellectual comprehension of them, but this doesn't protect us from getting lost, because our relationship with a notion of a personal enduring self and with truly existing objects outside ourselves is not just rational or intellectual. It's a matter of belief, of faith, of imagining. And this is an irrational force. It seems to arrive fully formed in front of us. Not only do I know that I'm me because I know my name and my date of birth and so on, feel like me. It seems to be self-proving. There's nothing to doubt, I'm me. And so you can analyze and analyze and analyze, but there is some deep, dark commitment to the idea of true existence, which is very difficult to shine a light on, an intellectual light on. And this difficulty was the basis for Tantra. The Buddha taught Tantra on Mount Malaya in South India. Some traditions he taught it in the form of Vajrapani, a wrathful looking Buddha. Vajrapani means holding the Vajra. Vajra is emptiness, emptiness of everything all the time. So this definitive nexus of self-belief is blind to emptiness. This is I am, I exist. And on the basis of I am, I can add all kinds of signifiers. I am in London, I am present on Saturday morning, and so on and so forth. So the antidote to this is the guru. Whatever you say about the guru will be false. He is helpful, not always. He is kind, not always. He's very clear, not always. Gurus are ungraspable. This is not so special because we are ungraspable. If we know people well, the person that we know is our own version of that person. You cannot put a person in a box. What you can do is put the person in a concept and refuse to see the actual person and speak to them as if they were entirely subsumed inside the concept. So in America, we have this campaign, Black Lives Matter, because the racist white people know very precisely what Black people are, that they are inferior, that they are not real Americans, and so on. And because they know that these Black people are not very good, they have no desire to meet them, which is wonderful for their belief, because if you don't never meet the people, you never have your belief contradicted. You have the same with patriarchy. In many countries in the world, there are still men who believe that they know exactly what women are, or they know exactly what children are, how you have to treat children. So this is a very strange but very comforting idea. Knowledge makes life simple, but living people are beyond apprehension. You can't take hold of them. So the unpredictability and ungraspability of the guru is also an invitation to be kinder to your own ungraspability, and for you to be kind also to the ungraspability of others. Under the power of ignoring the open, empty ground, we become actively engaged in compounding or assembling or constructing the phenomena of our world, including ourselves. This compoundedness means taking the things of the world and putting them together in a kind of collage And the integrity of the collage lies in the recognition that you can apply a name to the pattern revealed. So you look at it and you think, oh, it looks like a face. It is a face. Look, it's a face. And the more we massage our concept into what we see in front of us, our concept becomes the truth of what we see. So if you just reflect on this for a moment, you see that unfortunately, this intelligence by which I recognize that this is like a face is exactly what makes me blind. I see colors. I think pattern. If I stay simply with seeing, what is it? It's not a what. It's perhaps a how. How does this affect me? If you look at abstract impressionist art, there's a lot of passion in the movement of the colors. So it has a real impact on you. Your different chakras respond to this. You can't say what it is outside in itself, it's shape and color. You can't even really say what it is inside because the feeling tones move around. But what you can say is it's rubbish or it's great. And that's mainly what people were saying about abstract expressionism. You like or you don't like. And the important thing for meditators in that is that you see how the openness, the unformedness, the ungraspability of just this is very difficult for the ego to sustain. For the ego, if I have nothing to think and nothing to feel, which is identifiable, and nothing to say, then there's a kind of lostness which arises. The traditional structure of theater, right from the time of ancient Greece, always moves towards a resolution, a denouement. There has to be a conclusion which in some way exemplifies the cause and effect relationship of the enactment. The reason I'm setting this out in this way is hopefully to encourage you to see that we don't just have gross limitations and problems, but we have very subtle habits whereby we turn towards grasping and making and constructing. So we're looking today at the section on the guru and guru yoga written by this, or written from the notes taken by the students of this Lama Chetsangpa. Okay, so I wrote a little introduction that's fairly straightforward. Then the text itself, he begins by saying Omani Pemi Hungri, which is the mantra as we know of Chenrezig. This is an invitation to the compassion which arises from understanding emptiness. As we know, the sense of the mantra is the jewel in the lotus. The jewel is rays of kindness and warmth which spread out to others, and the lotus is emptiness. So we should never forget our Mahayana orientation. Whether you recite special verses or you hold in mind the intention, it's vital that we practice properly. So before we practice, we imagine all sentient beings all around us, and we wish them well, and we make an intention to do the practice for them. So when we're talking about Dharma today, when you're studying Dharma with me, you can imagine that the birds flying in the sky around your house, the worms in the earth beneath the house, all of these creatures are able to hear the Dharma. This Dharma is for everyone. And it is this orientation of inclusion, which is the very basis of all Dharma up to the highest levels of Dzogchen. It always means the whole, everything on the inside. We are always already within the Dharma Dhatu. Dharma Dhatu means the space within which all phenomena occur. We are the whole, we are part of the whole. The healing that we need is to awaken to the fact of our being part of the whole, which requires the evacuation of the toxicity of imagining that we are separate from the whole. So when we take Omani Pe Mihunri, this is the inclusion of everyone. I do this for everyone. I do it with everyone. And in fact, I do it as everyone. This last aspect will become clearer when you realize that everything is Padmasambhava and you yourself are Padmasambhava. So he begins, having gathered the two accumulations of merit and wisdom during measureless aeons, the result has ripened for us now. Now, nowadays, you can go on the computer and order the deep Dharma books. Amazon or one of these other giant operators will sell you any book. In Tibet, it wasn't like that. You had to show that you were worthy, because the entry into Dharma is to have the right ripening of your karma. You can't buy Dharma with money. The key to open the Dharma is your own good ripening of wisdom and compassion, which arises as the fruition of the good deeds and study you have done in the past. Due to this, he says, we can gain these 18 benefits and opportunities of a precious human birth. This means basically having a healthy body and mind, living in a culture where Dharma is available, and being able to study the Dharma. And because of this, we have the opportunity also to meet teachers who are able to convey the lineage teachings. We have to remember that the ego's function is to invent, to create, to develop, to make. But the function of Rigpa, of awareness, is simply to show. The showing is naked, unadulterated, not mixed with human ideas. As Sia Lama used to say to me, don't mix your food with your shit. Your food is the holy Dharma coming in fresh and delicious. And your shit is your own ideas about it and what you like and what you don't like. As we know with the teaching of the three pot faults, we need to receive the Dharma properly and not mix it with our own ideas. So this is really what we need, to hear the pure teaching. And then he says, then if with great faith and devotion to that guru, we faithfully practice the liberating elixir of his teaching, we will be able to benefit ourselves and all others. The grammar of this text raises problems for Western people. In the text and in life, traditionally, gurus in Tibet were male. There's no intrinsic reason why gurus can't be female. But due to the cultural formations and the attitudes that people had, there was not much support for women's education. So you need to sit with that and understand that the idea of equal opportunities and political adjustment of the relative positioning of racial groups, class groups, gender groups, and so on, has not been seen as a fundamental in Tibetan culture. The story that's often told for this is from Sonsen Gampo, the first Tibetan king who became Buddhist, that he, after becoming interested in Buddhist ideas, he saw that some of his people were very rich and some were very poor. And he decided he should equalize it. So he gathered all the wealth of Tibet and shared it out equally with every inhabitant. After a year, he found that some people were again rich and some were poor. So again, he did the redistribution and found the same outcome after a year. And he did it the third time and found the same outcome. And then he said, oh, now I understand the meaning of karma. The power of karma is great. Some of you may know some of the people you went to school with. Has their life been in any way similar to yours? Some wind of karma has blown them this way, and another wind of karma blew you that way. So, although there are many difficulties and sufferings in the world, the Dharma is grounded in the first teaching of Shakyamuni Buddha about the Four Noble Truths. There is suffering. Yeah, there is manifestly suffering. Suffering has a cause. Now we find in Britain that in the hospitals, the people who are very, very sick with COVID and who are dying are getting younger. How can this healthy 35-year-old person doing sport every day now be dying of COVID? No doubt the autopsy can produce some biochemical reason for this. But why did that person get the virus and not the person who was also running in the park with him? The origin of suffering, according to the Buddha, is ignorance and grasping, which leads to the accumulation of karma. And the Buddha said there is also the origin of suffering. And this origin goes very deep. It has to do profoundly with why ignorance is occurring. Ignorance is simple, it means just not seeing what's in front of your nose. But the karma that arises from this is so diverse, so manifold, so complicated, you can't work it out. When we sit to meditate, we don't know what feelings or sensations or thoughts are going to arise in our mind. You might know what's in your fridge, some milk and cheese and vegetables and so on. So this entitles you to the grand signification of Lord of the fridge. But you're not Lord of your mind because you don't know what's going to come in it. You are, in fact, idiot of your mind. We don't know. So this is very important. That's why the Buddha says you can get free of this suffering. And then fourthly, he says, and there is a way to do this. It doesn't come from kissing more people or getting more money. How do we get free? So he taught the Eightfold Path, which is broken down into ethics, meditation, and wisdom. We, as meditators, are concerned with all three. Our ethics is to be helpful to all beings and not harmful. And our meditation is to spend our time close to our mind as it is and to allow our mind to reveal itself to us. We are always telling our mind how it is and who we are. When we look outside, nowadays at least, we can see, oh, telling Black people what they are and telling women what they are is not good. This is prejudice. Prejudice stands in the way of the potential of these individuals to ripen and flourish. But we have prejudice towards ourselves. We think we know who we are. In fact, we are convinced that we are who we think we are. So this is what meditation is designed to dissolve, a stupid confidence. And the function of the guru is to help us with that task. Okay, so if we take a break now and we start again at 11:45 London time. So that's a 25-minute break. Good. See you then. Okay. So let's proceed. So then the text says, although you may have a lot of faith and longing in the Dharma, if you do not meet with an accomplished guru, then the Dharma you practice will be difficult to develop as the true Dharma. So this refers to what we looked at before, that if you just buy a book and read it, you're going to mix it with your own conceptual matrix, and then it won't be the pure Dharma. And that then he says, if you practice this Dharma, only worldly benefits will develop. So he says, then it's very important to find an accomplished guru. Otherwise, you will get lost, and many students get lost by following teachers whose mind is not clear. So then he explains, at the beginning, the guru should have studied the dharma in great detail. In the middle period of their life, they should have practiced a lot. And finally, they should be willing and able to teach. That is to say that dharma has to be the center of their life. And he says they should abandon outer life and live quietly in the mountains and avoid the complexities of family life and so on. Have developed a pure concern for the benefit of all and understand the developing and completion stages of Tantra. So, in general, this is the map. As we'll come on to soon, teachers can have different kinds of lives. The main thing is that if they are caught up in the world, they should not be lost in that. Many high lamas are CEOs, head managers of huge multinational corporations now. The main thing is that they should be like a lotus. The lotus grows in a muddy pond, but when it emerges out of the water, it's beautiful and clean. So he says it's necessary to meet someone, to look for someone like that, and that you might have a bodily reaction to hearing their name or seeing their face or praying to them. Then signs like that show that you have a connection from a previous life. Now, there is a cultural aspect to this. Well, if you read the biographies of different lamas, you see there are many accounts of different signs. Could be that the moles on their body follow the pattern of some constellation in the stars. Or when Milarepa came and met Marpa for the first time, Marpa offered him some homemade beer, some chang to drink, and he drained the whole pot. And Marpa said, "Oh, this is a sign that you will receive all of my teachings." If Milarepa had had a sip and handed it back to Marpa, who had a sip, who handed it back, maybe Marpa would have said, "Oh, this is a sign that our connection will be moving together and collaborative." If you're looking for signs, you can find them everywhere. So if you don't have any signs, don't worry. The main thing is that you have a determination to enter the practice and do the practice. If you open yourself to the practice, you will get some good result. So then we have a little section now, which is maybe quite difficult for many people to understand or to accept. If you find a guru like that, then you must know how to serve him and develop your connection. There are 4 ways of giving service. These are all ways of making connection. Now, as we've touched on already, the problem with the ego is that it exists as an isolation. I, me, myself. I sit inside my body looking out at the world, at other people. And this seeming separation, the duality of subject and object, is a great obstacle to dharma. So the first way of giving service is to always believe that whatever the guru does is good. So it says, whatever form your guru shows, whether he's a monk or a yogi or a layman, you must believe that whatever he does is good. If he is a monk and eats meat and wine and eats after midday or takes a wife, you shouldn't lack faith. So it's very easy to think, but why is he doing that? He shouldn't do that. I know how a monk should behave. He is not a good monk. In that moment, you are like a caterpillar spinning out a cocoon around yourself. You're wrapping yourself in your own concepts, judgments, hierarchies of values, claims on knowledge, and so on. And inside the cocoon, you will meet only yourself. So the ego is very fond of judgment. It says, and if he's a yogi and acts roughly and without care, you should also maintain your faith and devotion, since whatever he does is good. Oh, maybe he hasn't learned to control his anger. When we have a thought like this, it means we are looking from the outside. Maybe a tantric or Dzogchen guru is not concerned with controlling his anger, but staying present with anger as the energy, one of the pathways of the energy of the ground. So if the guru shouts at you and says you are stupid, this might be an instance of the purification of anger, the mirror like wisdom. And instead of being defensive and annoyed that you should be so harshly judged, perhaps you might recognize that indeed you are stupid. The entry ticket to samsara is stupidity. In Tibetan is timuk. It means to be kind of foggy and dull, to lack clarity. What the teacher is saying, not that you are stupid and will always be stupid, but you are stupid. Wake up, do something about it. This is an opportunity. But of course, our ego doesn't like this. Feels insulted. So we have to, if we don't trust that this is something of value for us, we will simply sit in our defensive castle. Whatever is done by the guru is the expression of the intrinsic mode, means the dharmakaya, the mind of the Buddha. Well, this is very, very important because we want to get enlightened. We want to really wake up. We want to be free of limitation. The one who can help us is the guru, because the guru is the living proof that enlightenment is present in the world. If you go to a Theravadan country, you can go to the Buddhist temple and you see them doing some practices of praising the Buddha, making some offerings and so on. The statue is an image of the Buddha, a symbol of the Buddha. Buddha is long gone. And so all you're doing is thinking about the Buddha. But in the Tantric and Dzogchen tradition, the guru is the living presence of the three bodies or the three modes or kayas of the Buddha. So this is a profound thing, and many religions have had to explore the real meaning of this. In the Christian Mass, with the Eucharist, the presentation of the blessed bread and wine, is this a symbol of Jesus Christ, or is this the actual blood and flesh of Jesus Christ? If it's a symbol, then of course it's helpful, but it involves thought to bring out the meaning of it. If you have faith that this is the actual presence, then you get a direct relationship. This is the same when we do an offering, a Gana Chakra or Gana Puja offering. The food is blessed and it is the actual presence of the Buddha. We take the food into our mouth, the food dissolves, and this is the dissolving of the deity into the emptiness of our body. So that this reinforces the idea we are the living presence of the deity. So this is a fundamental issue about faith and devotion. Faith and devotion is for the person who has faith and devotion. It's not for the object of the devotion. As the text, and I think not in this text, but in other texts say, if you believe that the guru is a Buddha, you get a Buddha's blessing. If you believe it's an ordinary human being, you get a good human being's blessing. When we read that the ground is pure from the very beginning, and that enlightenment is not a construct, that our own mind has been Buddha from the very beginning. This is not a dogma. This is not something to be believed. It is the actual presence, the truth of your own being here. Just as, to go back to the first example I gave you, if you are a child in an orphanage, you have many staff there who cook the food, clean the rooms, and so on. They have a professional relationship with you. They're paid to look after you. But when your dad comes, this is a different thing. He takes care of you because he's your dad. He's just your dad, and you're his daughter. It's just, oh, that's how it is. It's given, it's implicit, intrinsic, innate. So this is what this means here. Sorry, the Guru is the expression of the Dharmakaya. His activity is a miraculous apparitional display. Now, when we go into the practice, we see that everything is a miraculous display. But we start inside our ordinary ego self. And we are always at a crossroads. We have two choices. Either I pull the Guru into my world, my conceptual formations, and think about him or her according to my likes and dislikes, or I allow their presence to crack open the egg of my self-containment so that I can awaken to something fresh and new. And this is why, if sometimes a teacher does things that shock you or disturb you, this can be useful. Stay with the shock. In a state of shock, which sometimes in Tibetan is called hedewa, you lose your thoughts, you lose your mind, it's just open. How could they? I don't understand. Stay with that point. I don't understand. So if I don't understand, my thoughts aren't doing the business. So I have to open. Then we see, oh, I see what is there without smearing my own thoughts over it. You must believe, it's the text says, you must believe that everything he does is good and beneficial for sentient beings. If your guru is a householder with many children and is doing worldly work and business, subduing enemies and protecting friends, killing sentient beings and so forth, then you must still go to him for refuge and firmly believe that these activities are his demonstration of whatever method of training is necessary for sentient beings. I had gurus who were monks and gurus who were married, and these gurus do what is necessary. They work with people according to circumstances. Some were very publicly available, others were more hidden. That is to say, the energy of the Buddha nature, the energy of the Dharmakaya arises into the world as apparition, as illusory form, taking on whatever shaping is required. So sometimes on retreats, we have a little party and people dance. Some people are very predictable in how they dance. And for other people, how they dance depends very much on the music. They dance to one tune and then sit down for the next one. So you can dance according to yourself or according to the music. But what to do if it's music you don't like? That's the issue. This is the heart of the Bodhisattva training. I will do whatever is necessary to save sentient beings. Now, this brings me personally to the limit of my capacity. Moving my aging body to rap music is not very easy. It's not my cup of tea. But it is, so I've heard, music. And so sometimes I do my best to move according to this rhythm. In this way, we see our limit, what resonates with me, see what food resonates with me, what clothes, what political views. I am, I like, I don't like. These are all statements of limitation. The Buddha is without limitation. So if we meet people who bring us close to the border, the actual contouring of our own limitation, this is a very beautiful gift to us. Shantideva, the great Indian scholar and meditator, he said, your enemies are your best friends because they show you your anger. Your friends help you to hide your anger. But the people who annoy you and irritate you, who you don't understand and make you feel helpless, these are, for meditators, these are very precious people. As some of us have looked before, the ego on one level as a image is like a pot. All pots have limited capacity. Now, the texts reassure us that our mind is like the sky, yet our ego is like a pot. It has limited capacity. So when we find ourselves coming into a situation where we have strong discrimination, like, don't like, this is for me, you keep that, and so on, we should really take advantage of this. When you find yourself making strong judgments, try to catch the feeling of that inside your body. Maybe you look at something on the television or some video and you think, this is rubbish. How clear, how strong your mind is. Very seductive. Judging, evaluating, ascribing and projecting meaning and value into what you see. Again, you're in the little cocoon of your own confectionery, your own created thoughts and feelings and memories and so on. So if anyone cares enough about you to get really pissed off with you, that's quite a gift. The second is to be able to give him whatever you have. You must give him all your own wealth, be it great or small, and everything you have. Offer it without lingering attachment or regret, neither secretly withholding some, nor hesitantly giving it in dribs and drabs. Again, there's a a famous story about Marpa, who was giving an initiation, and all his close students came, bringing their possessions. And one of them, he brought his sheep, and Marpa looked at the sheep and said, one is missing. Oh, the yogi said, it's sick, it has a broken leg. And Marpa said, oh, I need that one too. So the man had to go home and carry the sheep on his shoulders. What does this mean? In meditation, for example, in Mahamudra, they talk about tsechik, one-pointed attention, meaning don't be dispersed, don't be distracted. Bring your mind entirely into one point. How do we get distracted? We remember, oh, I didn't pay that bill. Oh, I need to phone my mother. In our world, with all our connectivity, we are connected with many, many people, and in these people, we see the value that we attribute to them as having. So when this yogi decided just to leave the sick sheep, he was making a decision, maybe quite reasonable decision. But Marpa saying to him, I don't need your thoughts. I need your sheep. I need to show you how you think you know more than me. Oh, big hero, making these big decisions about good sheep and bad sheep. Bring everything. So this is a teaching. It's a mirror that lets you see how you do your little micropolitics with the world. And micropolitics keeps you micro. We want the macro. The big in Tibet means Chen or Chembo, and we have Dzogchen, and we have Chagchen, Mahamudra, big one, not small one. So he says, even if you have only a needle and nothing else, you must offer that. And he says, encourage others to give to your guru. I used to be very good at doing that when I was in India with Siya Lama. I was a bit like these sleazy guys you see in the red light district trying to get people into the peep show. Oh, you're interested in Dharma. This teacher is amazing. You should come and see him. And we're having a puja today. It's very good to make offerings. You can offer sweets and some wine, but also offering money is really helpful for you. That might look a little bit creepy, but it also brought these people into some kind of connection. Whether that ripened for them in this life or not, maybe something is there. They got a chance. The Siya Lama always said, give everyone a chance. So yesterday we put up this little practice of Padmasambhava. Loving Guru Rinpoche. Loving the lotus born, it's called. And generally, we don't make these practices too public. But Siya Lama always said, give people a chance. If people never hear of things, if they never see something, how will they know? We're not evangelicals going around and knocking on people's doors. It's neither, we should have our dharma neither over displayed nor hidden, but it's available if people wish. Again, Siya Lama, he always said, if you wish, if you like, if you want, it's here, it's available. It's up to you. Like that, it's open. So he's saying, offer everything, what you imagine, what you actually have without any reservation. This is the most important thing in my life. Why? Because if I don't awaken myself, how will I help other people to awaken? We're talking about something actual and not theoretical. So practicing giving is very important. Of course, modern life is very expensive. You have to pay money for rent and you probably need a car and so on. Living in a cave and begging for food is not really viable in Europe. The main point here is to observe for yourself this retractive feeling inside. I'll hang on to this. I need something for me. And in the afternoon, we will be looking at the actual practice of Guru Yoga. And in that, all of you, every aspect of you has to dissolve into the heart of the Guru. So if you are dispersed among possessions, lovers, books, projects, that's going to be very difficult. This is why it can be very helpful when you wake in the morning to think, this is the last day of my life. And you say goodbye to everything. Goodbye shoes. My shoes, when I'm dead, are just shoes. My watch is just a watch. When I die, my body that some people might like is just a corpse. What will you do with my dead body? You want to get rid of it. It's useful when Mr. Low is inside it. So the body and the shoes are the same. Mr. Low likes his shoes, but probably you don't like Mr. Low's smelly old shoes. They are very comfortable for Mr. Low's old feet. So in that way, you can see, oh, I am relying on these things. I am identifying with these objects of my daily use. I am making them shine. My mind makes these objects special. So take this energy, this radiance of your mind back into your heart. Then you see, oh, it's just appearance, empty appearance. The differentiation of the world, the good, the bad, the mine, the yours, this is the movement of my mind. So generosity can be useful for that, but the key point is to understand the nature of your attachment. Then to be able to do whatever your guru says. So whether he says start a business or cheat other people, whatever he says, you should do that. Why? Because you give yourself to the guru. Again, the point of this is your thoughts are the thoughts of samsara. They are dualistic. You cannot think your way out of samsara because thinking is what binds you into samsara. So if you are required to do activities which you don't understand, you think, oh, I'm the servant. Well, when you take the bodhisattva vow, you say, from this day on, I am the servant of all beings. I willingly go into servitude for the benefit of others. The servant does what the master needs and wants. But what about me? This is all about you. The reason you have to be the servant is because you keep acting like the master. The function of dharma is to free yourself from all binaries, all polarities, neither master nor servant, but pride, narcissism, egotism. These are the hidden sides of the bad master inside you. And that's why you should do what you're asked to do. Oh, he makes it quite extreme. He says, if the guru says die, you must be able to die. Jump into the fire, jump into deep water. Just do it. Drink molten metal. Cut off your head and cut out your heart and give them to the teacher. You must be able to do that. I know what's good for me. That would not be good for me. This is like a kind of rolfing, a very deep massage where somebody's thumbs are right into the muscle. Now we find these tight knotted places. This is insane. Why would anybody do that? This here. If he tells you to kill your parents and other sentient beings and rip out their intestines with your hands, then you must be able to do it. So you think this is outrageous. I couldn't do that. I would not be me if I did that. Then poor old guru's thinking, oh, fuck. So you want to be yourself. Oh, you are the limit of yourself. This is a long road ahead. It's not about killing people or harming them. It's about seeing, I trust myself more than the guru. That is to say, I am my own true reference point. I trust me. Now, if we take the pure Dharma view, it says, due to ignoring the ever open unborn ground, the false deluding notion of an individual self arises. So, due to ignoring this ever open ground, there arises the sense of this exists by itself. The isolation and individuality of the ego arises from not seeing that it is the expression of emptiness. So the Dharma says your individual ego self is a delusion, a fabrication. But we feel, I know what's true. I trust my own judgment on these matters. Killing my mother would not be good. I am deluded and I know what's right. Quite difficult to bring these two together. We might need to add something. Although I am deluded, I am sure that I am right. Or I know that I am right, although I hear that the Buddha says I'm deluded. But they don't really go together. So maybe I don't know. So this is the challenge here. Not telling you to murder people, but it's inviting you to challenge yourself to see the point of limitation and then look and see who is the one who is limited. And he also says, if he says stop practicing Dharma and be a lay person, then you must do that. The true nature of all beings is the three kayas, or the three aspects of the Buddha. The doorway into this is to understand the emptiness of the mind. So again, anyone who really lets you see how you rely on limitations to maintain your small self, this is your true friend. So then the fourth point is to always believe that whatever the guru says is true, whatever aspect of Dharma, whether it's the outer things about death and impermanence, having a precious human birth. So we have the traditional threefold practice of listening, reflecting, and activating or meditating. So you should listen mindfully, pay attention to what is being said. And then secondly, you have to reflect on it, which means to apply it to your own life and see how you can open to the teaching, not pulling the teaching into your own thoughts, but dissolving your thoughts so that you can see the depth of the teaching. So when we learn that there are no phenomena which have a true existence of their own, then we realize the impotence of our intellect. For example, there was a woman who is now dead, who was my mother. I liked my mother, and I had a sense, oh yeah, this is my mom. I know my mom. But of course, this woman was not just my mother. She had a husband, friends, she had worked when she was younger. She did all kinds of things. So if we say, well, who is this woman? I would have to say, oh, she is more than my mother. That doesn't feel so good. No, this is my mom. Maintaining my sense of this as my mother means keeping the rest out. So this is what it means when you reflect on the Dharma, is to see how you have patterns of interpretation, familiar themes in your life, which edit the field of emergence into what is figural, what is impactful for you, and the rest that recedes as the background. So we want the whole field. We want to be able to open to all that is present. Again, he says, regarding worldly things, if the guru says a cow is a donkey, a goat is a sheep, and so on, then you should believe that. He says, although it may not look like that to you, yet the guru has said it, so it is certainly true. This is designed to create intrapsychic conflict. How can this be a donkey when it's a cow? It's a cow. You see, we are already listening to Robert. We have a problem. I say cow, he says coo. If it's a cow, it's not a coo. Oh, this is this. When we later in other weekends, we will be looking at the nature of ignorance. But this is how we see that everything in the world is only a name put by mind. There are no self-existing objects, no self-existing people, subjects. Everything is dependent. So if you grow up speaking German or Polish or Portuguese, then these words will seem to represent something true for you. But this is relative truth, conventional truth. So this is what the guru is doing. He's saying, don't get addicted to language as if it could indicate the truth. The deepest dharma, the dharma of wisdom, leads to silence. From silence, dharma arises as language for the sake of helping others, as an act of kindness. When we see some of the wrathful deities who have a necklace of skulls around their neck, these skulls represent the Ali Kali, the vowels and consonants of the Sanskrit alphabet. As you bring the vowels and consonants together, the illusory form of words arise which create the illusion of real entities in the world. But these are only names put by mind. So again, he says your activity should be exactly what the guru wishes. To do whatever the guru says is the best possible activity. If you are not in agreement with the guru's instructions, then even if you give up all worldly things and practice meditation, you will not really have entered the Dharma. This is because the guru is the presence of the three kayas, the enlightened form of the Buddha. If you don't see this, then the Dharma remains abstract, symbolic. But when you see an embodied form, somebody breathing in and out, who behaves in ways you don't like or don't understand, then you are confronted with the open heart or the critical mind. Now, of course, there have been bad situations where some gurus wanted to create sects and exploit other people for money, for sexuality, and so on. So, in the tradition, they say you should examine the teacher's behavior for many, many years before you make a commitment. The key point is the willingness to participate, to be able to give yourself fully to something. These four sections say instructing how we should behave are, as I was indicating, simply a way of making an X-ray of yourself. When I used to go and see Chatan Rinpoche in his little temple in Jor Bungalow, he would sit at the front, and when people offered him something, he would take it, and throw it over his shoulder. So the back of the room was like a junk shop. It was full of a mass of just crazy stuff. He didn't need it. And if I tried to give him 2 rupees or some little bit of money, he would give me the money back and give me even more money, because he knew what it's like to be a refugee or a poor person in a foreign country. Truly, the teacher doesn't need anything from you, but you have a need to get something from the teacher. So all the gods of the Tibetan pantheon come through the guru. Without initiation, you don't have a true connection. The initiation can be given in an elaborate way or simple way, but you can't do it by yourself. Dharma is not a masturbatory activity. When we see in the Tankas these figures of Yab Yum, of the male and female in sexual intercourse, this represents the inseparable connection of wisdom and compassion. The beginning and the end of Dharma is connectivity. Nothing is isolated. Nothing exists by itself. And it's obvious you don't have a teacher without students. You can't be a student without a teacher. These are co-emergent. And co-emergence points to non-duality. When you realize that you are not different from the guru, then your ego, dense, hard pseudo essence starts to dissolve. So this is what we'll look at after our break now. We look at the actual practice of guru yoga. So if we can be back at 2 o'clock English time, 3 o'clock European time. Good. Thank you very much, and have a good break. I think the translators are maybe ready. Okay, so the last thing we were doing in the morning is quite intense. And it's important that we recognize that we live in a different situation from in Tibet. We have to work with circumstances. Faith and devotion is important, and we often don't have ideal circumstances. So it may not be possible to get the initiation that you want to have. Sia Lama always said the main thing is to have faith. If you want to do the practice, the sincere wish to do the practice creates a heart connection with the practice. And if you get a chance later to get a formal initiation, then that's good. The heart is more important than the law. There are many rules and regulations which develop in the formalized hierarchical tantric system in Tibet. I just want to read something that Pato Rinpoche wrote at the end of his short commentary on the 3 statements of Garab Dorje. He said, "These instructions are like refined gold. They are the essential heart meaning, and it is a waste to show them to people who will not practice. However, it is a waste not to show them to those who will guard them as their life, and practicing the essential meaning will strive to gain Buddhahood in one lifetime. All the Dharma teachings are designed for those who sincerely want to practice. To create barriers for people who want to practice is not ethical. But at the same time, we need to always examine our own motivation. We want to do this to benefit all sentient beings. So we have these 3 possibilities. You can focus on the Dharmakaya or on the Sambhogakaya or the Nimanakaya. Generally, in this system, the Dharmakaya is Amitabha Buddha, the Sambhogakaya is Chenrezig, Avalokiteshvara, and the Nimanakaya is Padmasambhava. But Padmasambhava also has these 3 aspects. Of course, because there is no Nirmanakaya without Sambhogakaya and no Sambhogakaya without Dharmakaya. The Dharmakaya is when you awaken to your own mind as it is. The Sambhogakaya is how speech manifests from the Dharmakaya. Speech in this sense represents the movement of energy. That is to say, it is the connectivity of the whole field of appearance. In the Nirmanakaya means the participation in the field as an apparition. An apparition is like a mirage. You see something in front of you, it's there, but it's not there. If you believe that it's real, then you're crazy. If you say it's not there, you're blind. It is appearance and emptiness. So you can focus when now we come in to look at the more the practice part, and you can focus in your mind on Padmasambhava or seeming Buddha in a human form or Amitabha or Chenrezig. We have to know that these are forms for our benefit. The mind never moves. Dharmakaya is like space, it has no shape. Speech is always moving, and the body is always moving. We have our familiar friends, stillness and movement. The non-duality of stillness and movement is the heart of the Dharma. Your own mind, that is to say, the intrinsic awareness which illuminates everything, never changes. What it reveals is what is instantly present moment by moment. This is always changing. It's not that, our language is difficult. It's not that an unripe banana is becoming ripe or a child is becoming a teenager. It's not that this is turning into that, but simply there is this and this and this, and each is like an unborn ray of awareness, like a ray of the sun. And moving in this field of appearance is our body, which is like an illusory form. This body never stops moving. If it stops moving, you're dead. The heart has to keep pumping, the lungs have to keep working. Life is movement. So these three are inseparable. And the function of the practice is to awaken us to this being the truth of ourselves. So then he's saying your own pattern of action must be to do whatever the guru wishes, practicing what he orders without modification. This is an alignment. You are aligning yourself with the trajectory of the teacher. Just as the conductor can hear the whole orchestra, but even the head violin, the first violin player with all their experience is primarily focused on their own activity. So even if we are quite mindful, we still tend to be focused on what makes sense to us. And the guru has to see a wider picture and how that person might move in the world. For example, some people should work and earn money and through that gain some sense of dignity and competence. For other people, doing voluntary work and being more like a servant is useful for learning empathic attunement. There is not just one way to do things. And so trusting that the other person has a more panoramic vision is important. So in Dzogchen, we sit with our gaze in a very open way, a panoramic gaze, and we don't hold a visualization for very long. And in Tantra, we develop a visualization and stay with that for some time. Every method has a purpose. So the particular purpose of the focus on the guru is to end your isolation as a separate individual. So the outer form is to stay in harmony with the activity of the mandala. For example, we are so fortunate that many people collaborate to allow our meetings to happen. In the background, we have Pedro dealing with the technical aspects, and he later produces the recordings of the Zoom, and Barbara prepares the timetables and the organizing and make sure that the whole website is functioning. And the key thing is that people are in the service of the task. The task is a kind of middle way. It's not about one's own self and one's desires. You see that the task has certain requirements and you fulfill what is required, and then the task is performed well. So in your life, if you find that you are a little bit quarrelsome or you get into interpersonal difficulties with other people, then it's important to really try to be present in these difficult moments and see, what am I fighting for? What is at stake here? Probably it's something to do with me. It's not the task of being available to help all sentient beings. So we want to be plastic, pliable, soft, so that we can take up the shape required. In that way, we show that we are for the other. In the tradition, they say the Dharmakaya, the mind of the Buddha, that is for yourself. And the form kayas, this Sambhoga kaya, this enjoyment or luminous body, and then the Manakaya, the apparitional body, these are for other people. We manifest for the other. So if we are going to be a resource, a potential which can manifest as required, it's so important not to have fixed, rigid prepositionings. So then he says, if you practice in this way and you pray with full devotion, you will gain the level of Buddhahood. And then you will see that the Guru has all the qualities of all the Buddhas of the past, present, and future. For traditional teachers like Siya Lama, devotion was the most important thing. It's a kind of faith and trust which is simple and naive. We should be like a small child, moving between wonder, how amazing, and fear, like a small frightened child. I need you. I am nothing without you. I mean, these two lines sound like a sort of bad modern love song. And this is the perversion of our modern materialistic culture, that the main object of devotion is somebody you want to sleep with. But although this person may have a wonderful body, they have a nasty mind. Sooner or later, the five poisons will come up and, like Medusa snakes, wrap themselves around you. What do we need? The one thing that's missing, which is awakening to how we are. Lots of people will tell us who we are and what you are. Lovers say things like, you are so amazing, you are so beautiful. Oh, I find you so funny. The function of these compliments is to make you spiritually blind. This is not who you are. Oh, you are so beautiful. For a while. I wonder where your first wrinkle is going to appear. That's not really what lovers say. You will get old and die. You're good enough. Well, romance means deceit. The truth is not erotic. So the truth is, we are lost because we don't know who we are. Therefore, finding the way to awaken to how we are is very important. And so when we pray, we bring our two hands together in front of our chest. Two hands means good, bad, right, wrong, subject, object, self, other, all the dualities, not so separate. Two hands, but together. It is two, but looks like one. So then we pray. We pray from the heart. I need you for what you can give me. You have light. Your light can clean me. I am heavy with my thoughts, my worries, my history. You are light, both light in the sense of radiating light, but also playful and light, not so serious. I am trapped by my belief in the truth of things. And the important thing here is, although before he was talking about all these things you should do for the Guru, actually the focus is on receptivity. Prayer is a way of becoming more receptive. The Guru is not hiding anything or keeping anything secret. They are there. What is it you want? So if you are there to receive, then you have to be available to receive. What we are purifying are the residues and remnants and prepositionings which fill the space. You can put more things in an empty suitcase than in one that's half full. So the more empty you are, the more you can receive. So everything we looked at in the morning is about this. Don't hang on to your sense of self. When you die, you go traveling. In this life, you take such good care of your body, but it's not even a suitcase. You can't take it when you die. All the knowledge you have is gone. What remains is your awareness, clear or not. Knowledge comes from consciousness, and consciousness is a particular distortion of the clarity of the mind, whereby it's turned towards knowing things. So he now starts to describe the practice. You must think of your precious guru as the very kind one who turns you away from the misleading path of unvirtue and sets you on the pure path. Then imagine him seated on 4 cushions in the sky before you, slightly higher than your head. So it's usually about 1 arm's length in front of you. Or you can imagine it further away, depending on what's easy for you. Now, again, in the Tibetan tradition, there is a lot of detail of what can be visualized. Some people have a great facility for this, but for others, it's almost impossible. Don't worry. The most important thing is the feeling tone. If you can visualize clearly, the clarity of what you are imagining acts as a kind of hook to keep your attention stable. But if you don't have that capacity, use the full force of devotion from your heart to give you an iron link with what is in front of you. Siya Lama used to say that what was required is the student has an iron ring of faith. And the guru has a hook of wisdom and compassion that will catch onto that ring. We're not thinking about something. We're opening ourselves into a direct experience. Therefore, it's very important that if the visualization is not easy for you, you don't become critical of yourself, imagining that you're a bad person, or you're not good at this, or this is too difficult, or it's better for other people. This is very unhelpful. So you just have to give yourself to the possibility and to the actuality that this is how it is. It says, if you believe that your guru is really a Buddha, then visualize him in his usual form. But if you think he has some faults, then meditate on him in the form of Vajradhara, Padmasambhava of Urgyen, Prajnaparamita, or whichever divine being you have faith in. Now, again, if we think about our actual existence, if you do spend time with the teacher, you're likely to be disappointed and upset and confused. In general, people say that's not a good thing. But that's a little bit strange, because close relationships always are bumpy. Love and hate are born together. Hot and cold are born together. Boys and girls are born together. So if you want something that's always good, you won't find it in this world. So we are practicing according to the higher tantras into the view of Dzogchen, in which to discriminate between good and bad is not a good idea. Hate, as we know, is quite a strong glue. The French hate the English. That's why Monsieur Macron was giving us such a hard time with Brexit. Charles de Gaulle made it very difficult to enter the Union, and Macron made it very difficult to leave. So there's quite a lot of juice in hatred and old battles going back hundreds of years. So if you have negative thoughts, don't sit inside them, but try to feel the energy of it. When you walk down the street and there's lots of people, you don't know who they are, they don't mean anything, but you see someone you don't like, start to heat up a little bit. Maybe I cross the road to get away. So in the same way, when you have difficult feelings, bring them into the practice. If Marpa is saying, bring the crippled sheep to me, Padmasambhava is saying, come here, come as you are. I know you think I'm boring or you're jealous of my nice earrings or whatever nonsense you have, bring it all. We're not Hindu Brahmins having to have a bath before we go into the temple. You can do the practice in a quite sweaty state. So, 4 cushions. These represent the 4 kayas, the 3 we've been talking about and their unity together. And we imagine on the forehead of the Guru or Padmasambhava, the white letter Om. In the text, it says on the crown of the head, which would be the very top, but usually we imagine it here on the upper brow. A red letter A at the throat and a blue letter Hung in the heart. So if you can't imagine these letters, you just imagine a circle of white light, a circle of red light, and a circle of blue light. Then from these 3 letters in the Guru's body, rays of light spread out in the different colors. And these invite all the Gurus of the lineage, other teachers you've had instruction from, and all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. They all appear with light rays of the 5 colors. So their body is composed of these 5 white, red, blue, yellow, and green light moving around. And they melt into your own Guru. And so you should believe that he really encompasses all the Buddhas of the 3 times. So we've been talking up to now about gathering yourself together, looking at these projected bits of yourself and your dispersal and bringing it all into you with simple devotion. But now in relation to the object, to the Guru, all the figures of the Buddhist pantheon who you might have faith in, Tara, Prajnaparamita, male, female, young, old, beautiful, wrathful, all of them all gather and merge into this image of the Guru. So now 2 factors are coming together. I only have eyes for you, and you are everything for me. This is the glue which brings the enclosure, the bindu, the magical drop of integrity into presence. Then pray from the depths of your heart with sincere faith and devotion, using whatever prayer you have been taught, be it long or short. So there are many long prayers like calling the Lama from afar, middle length ones like the 7-line prayer. The shortest form is Lama Kieno. Kemba is a verb that means to know, but essentially here it means to think about. Guru, think about me. I'm all alone. I'm in samsara. Everyone's encouraging me to sit in a cafe or read a novel or do some cooking. Who wants me to get enlightened? Only you. If I lose you, I will get lost completely. You have to think like that and realize it. Now, especially with this virus, many people find their parents are dying, friends are dying. Sometimes children die before their parents. You work for a while, it's your world, and then you retire. And who are you? You have to see, I have been following dreams. I have been investing my life energy, the energy of a life that is very short. I have put that in the wrong places. You alone. This is the meaning of one-pointed. You enter this state of focused attention, which is free of distraction. He says, pray so intensely that tears come. You shake and tremble, and the hair on your body bristles. You are desperate. Think of all the things you have been desperate for in your life. How long did they last? Now you are desperate for contact with the Guru who is going to deliver you to yourself. The signs of receiving blessing when praying in this way are that you turn away from desire for samsara. An awareness of impermanence is born in your mind, and you become aware that you might die very soon. I have the habit of telling people who live near me and who I know quite well that they're going to die soon. I'm always surprised that they don't appreciate it. People prefer someone say, "Oh, have a long life. I hope you'll be happy." No, no, no. You are going to die. You don't know when you're going to die. Hang on to the main thing. So when you know that you are going to die, the things in the world really start to appear like illusion. They become thin, like meeting an old lover. And you remember how strong the feelings were and how you missed them and so on. And now they are just a person. Before you met them, they were an ordinary person, part of the big picture, the whole. Then you fall in love and they become figural. They become so important, standing apart from everyone else. And now they're just part of the background again. They were you. Their specialness was your mind. Due to causes and circumstances, you came to invest them with enormous significance. And now, what? A person. So you can see why this practice is so important. We have a longing. The ego has no truth of its own. It's a false identification. I am, I exist. But in order to continue the sentence, it needs to recruit some aspects of the world. I am Scottish. So Scotland is there, which is not where I am, but I am Scottish. I am, yeah, come on. What are you? Come on, tell us, what are you? I am. I am is not enough. I am indicates the emptiness of the self construct. So the ego is always hungrily looking at the world for ingredients it can use to cook up a new momentary identity. How busy you have been in your life, filling your sense of self with contents which have faded away, the things which fascinated you, the people you needed to be with. Where are they? So in this practice, this is belongs in Tantra, it's a practice of transformation. And we're using the energy of the ego to dissolve the ego. In duality, we look to the object to fill us. So in this practice, the guru is in front of us, and we say, "You are all I want." But this guru, remember, is full of light of the five colors, as all the gurus of the different lineages and the Buddhas have merged into them. The guru is a shining shape of light. So when he says, now you become more aware of impermanence, then you see, oh, all these things I thought I could have and that could help me be somebody real, they are unreliable. I have cheated myself. I want your blessing. I want your light. Light is ungraspable. So I don't want to have your light. I want to become your light. I want to be light. Because the paradox is everything which looks solid and reliable is unreliable. But the truth of phenomena, which means appearance, light, is that it is here and ungraspable. So, by the power of this praying, your habits of adopting and rejecting diminish. As we will come to see, everything is the light of the Guru's mandala. It doesn't matter what it looks like. If you go to a shop where they sell wax fruit, it's all made of wax. Looks like a lemon or an apple, but it's wax. Looks like this, but it's wax. Everything in the world looks like houses, cars, people, dogs, but it's light. This light is better than that light. Really? Can you catch the light and bring it over here and we'll weigh it in a scale? Oh, you prefer this light. You enjoy this light. Aha, this is the quality of the Sambhoga Kaya. Sambhoga, to be with enjoyment. This is aesthetic appreciation. This is not the same as grasping and owning and keeping. And you're So, and now you start to see what is equanimity. It's just this. All that you like and all that you don't like is just ideas. And so your mind turns away from desire. Love and kindness arise. You're not able to separate from your guru, and the good qualities of practice arise. This means you can keep this visualization of the guru on the top of your head or just in front of you. You can keep it all day long. Maintain the sense of connectivity. I remember Sia Lama saying that monks' robes are very useful because they tell people, I'm not going to get involved. I follow the path of renunciation. Don't pull me into your worldly conversation. In an inner way, if you keep the sense of the guru with you all the time, then you will be able to be protected from everything around you. So, for example, if you take up this Lama Keno, which is very beautiful, you can sing it slowly, quickly, in all kind of ways, but you can also integrate it with your breath. Bring Lama into the out breath and Keno onto the in breath. As the breath goes out, you can imagine rays of light going out to the guru, inviting him, and Keno, pay attention to me, think of me, be with me. You imagine his light coming into you. So you do this recitation for as long as you have time. If you're beginning with it, you should do it quite a long time, maybe half an hour, 1 hour. Then from the now you're looking again at the guru. On the guru's forehead here, there's a white letter Om. And rays of light come out and melt into your own forehead. This purifies the errors and obscurations of your body. The errors are the things that you've done which are unhelpful for other people or yourself. And the obscurations are taking your body to be a thing. My body, something I have. My home. This is me. These are all obscurations that allow you to become stupid around your body. Your body is not a thing. It's like a marketplace. It's full of processes going on. All kind of purifications and productions are occurring with the body. There's nothing static to grasp. So the purification is not a complex thing because the errors and obscurations are all arise from the belief that it's truly existing. When you have a misidentification of something, then you can build on that and go in a very strange direction. When wars begin, they're always started by an idea, whether it's a big war or a small war. Your cows eat my vegetables. If they come here again, I kill them. You are harming me. The cows like vegetables. Because there are cows, we need a fence to keep them away from the vegetables. Some of the vegetables in my garden are not good for your cows to eat. So we'll both get an advantage with a fence. Why don't we split the cost 50-50? You're trying to poison my cows. Stop growing that. It's your fault. Your people are always doing this. We've heard these stories so many times. This is interpretation. This is the production of ideas linked together into a narrative that makes me sure I am right, but insulted, and you are wrong and dangerous. So all of these constructions actually never had any truth to them. They were just beliefs. When Jawaharlal Nehru was the Prime Minister of India, there was a slogan, Hindi Chini bye bye, meaning India and China are brothers. But it didn't last very long. It's like all of these strong beliefs, they arise and vanish, arise and vanish. So don't take your limitations too seriously. Light shows the fungus that grows in the dark. Keep the light on and all these ghosts and demons will vanish. So now your body is filling with this white light. From the top of your head to your feet, you are only white light. The blessing of the Guru's body is obtained. You have received the pot initiation. There are many kinds of initiation. They are often put into a group of 4 initiations, and the first is the pot initiation. Initiation means that you become legitimate. It comes from the Indian idea of the Abhisheka, which is the consecration of the prince. It's not quite the coronation of the king, but this person is now the prince. They will become king. They are on the path to becoming king. We could say on the path to becoming the queen. Now you are authorized to do the practice. You are authorized to see that your body is a body of light. So this is why faith is very important, because it's the power of faith that makes the difference from just pretending. The actor in the theater has to believe that they are a particular character, but they also know they are an actor. If they only thought they were the character, they would be becoming psychotic, because that's not who they are. But for us, now, with our profound belief, we start to be able to see how it is. This is, my body actually is light. Your body is light moving in a world of light. So soft inside, so moving very easily. You don't need to do any exercises or practice. When the body is light, it's just moving in all directions. Your body is empowered for the meditations of the developing system. It means you can truly see your body as the God. By doing this practice, you will be able to ripen to the fruition of the Nirmanakaya apparitional mode. That is to say, you start to see that this whole life is like a dream, and your dream body is moving in it. Your body is like a wave arising from the ocean. Just as the wave is full of water, our body is full of light, but light which shows a particular shape, appearance and emptiness. When we read the traditional text, we find these phrases again and again and again. When you see people in the street, now you start to be able to see them. I see light. This is light. Helmut is a name I place on this pattern of light. But if I want Helmut to be a person with the 5 skandhas, with heart and lungs and be truly existing, then I have to imagine, Helmut, perhaps you're a human being. Come a little closer. This is a Japanese knife. They're very sharp. I just want to check if you have a heart or not. Oh, so much blood inside you, Helmut. Oh, and the thing about blood is red. It's also light. Even your heart is light. But the light is going out of your eyes. What has happened, Helmut? Yeah, everything is light. So this gives you the door. You have to do the practice again and again and again until you see that what you see is light. Because of this, you have a chance to gain the Vajra body. Vajra body means form and emptiness. Nang tong laitu means appearance and emptiness, which is the divine body. It is indestructible because it's ungraspable light. Then imagine that the inside of your body becomes full of rays of white light. Meditate on this for some time. Means just stay with that sense of nothing but light. So maybe now you can see that what we looked at in the morning of always believe whatever the Guru says is very important. Because when we see the dharma is true, the teaching is true, so now my body is full of light. Oh, now we have a break and you get up and move around with a body of light. And when you look around, everything you see is light. You think table, you think kettle. What do you see? Seeing is direct. You cannot see a kettle. You can think a kettle. When you think a kettle, this is compounding, duce, bringing together, making something. Everything you see is light. Okay, so we take a break now, maybe slightly shorter, and be back at 3:45. So we have like 20-minute break. Super, thank you. So the text continues, and we go to the throat and the heart and all together, and the basic structure is the same. So now we imagine a red letter R in the guru's throat, or the deity's throat, and rays of light come in and merge into our throat. And this is the purification of all the difficulties, obscurations, impurities of speech. These mistakes of speech belong in culture, like people who talk too much or who don't talk enough and so on. They are embedded in the message of speech. Speech, of course, is sound. Sound is just sound. You have to add concepts. You have to add concepts to the sound to make something of it. To say, oh, this is in the right key, or this is sung in Latin, or this is a bad idea that you're expressing. These are our ideas. And the function of highlighting the light is that light and sound are essentially the same. They are vibrations which are immediate in their display and ungraspable. So we gain the blessing of the Guru's speech, which is sound and emptiness. You receive the secret initiation, which is the initiation usually into the mantra. Your speech is empowered to read mantras and sadhana texts and to perform long recitations. You now have the opportunity to gain the Sambhogakaya, enjoyment mode. So the sound is even less. Sound is immediate and then gone. So this is in the nature of enjoyment. That if you grasp onto something, it thickens and becomes heavy. But the sound is just passing through. And the pleasure of just being with sound, open to sound, is complete in itself. It doesn't need our commentary. Of course, we've been trained to interpret sound as a sign of something. But again, there's a paradox, because if you really listen to sound, it takes you away from somethingness to openness. And now you have the chance to gain this Vajra speech, which again is speech and emptiness. So when I'm talking, this vibration in my throat is making the sound which comes out of my mouth. And the sound is vanishing as it emerges. You think you hear what I am saying, but this is not true. You think what I am saying. And if you know German, then you think what Robert is saying. And if you know English, you think what I am saying. And if you don't know English or German, then maybe difficult. This is so important. The meaning is not in the sound. The meaning is how your mind is in intercourse with the sound. The sound is empty, just going. So this is the side of emptiness. This is like a sun coming out of the sky. The thought arises also from the sky, but if you project the thought into the sound, oh, I know what he's talking about. Then you don't see this yabyum, this joint creation. So you could say that this stupidity is the triumph of patriarchy. Because when you interpret the sound, you merge with your own interpretation. And this gives you something to hang on to. If you go to an orchestral concert, afterwards, what did you hear? Sound. You have to call it music before you can say much about it. So people talk a lot about music. The second movement was too fast. If you like, these are opinions. The music was dissolving. So here, what is arising? This is the object side. This is the emptiness. And mind is working with that. If you bring these two together and you see the meaning is co-emergent, or the meaning is inseparable from this interplay, then it is self-dissolving. Otherwise, you just have a mind full of stuff. Just when we look outside and we don't see the light, we see houses and people and cars. There is a very big door hidden in this. This is the door to non-duality. But when you split to two and then you fuse as one, then non-duality is hidden. So for those of you who have been studying these things for some time, you try really to make use of this door. Then imagine that the inside of your body becomes full of rays of red light, and meditate on this for some time. So if you're doing this by yourself, then you sit as long as you can, as long as you feel in the mood. You will probably feel the desire to do something with the colored light. It's just light. It is meaningless, and you can fill it with meaning. You can fill it with a million meanings because it is empty of meaning. This is the potential of the ground. If something is overdefined, then you're paralyzed. So when I was in Spain, when I was younger, in these northern towns, I remember these banners across the road saying "Todo por la patria." So everything for the country. The country is everything. But which country? At that time, it was clear, was the dictator's country. There were many Spains, but Spain was a possession of the dictator. So this is why these fascistic countries and fascistic ideas, which are everywhere in the world, are so dangerous, because they hide the potential of the situation. There is only one truth, not at all. There are millions of truths. The real truth is emptiness, and everything else is the children of emptiness. So it's very important to stay with the immediate manifestation of the fruitfulness of the empty ground. Then from a blue letter hung at the Guru's heart, rays of blue light come out and merge into our heart. This purifies the errors and obscurations of mind. On an ordinary level, this means negative thoughts that you have, or selfish, self-centered conceptualization. But the only true error and obscuration in the mind is to imagine that there is an owner of the territory. It's my mind. These are my thoughts, my feelings. And then you have liking and not liking and so on. So in the text, it's always talking about what arises, chishar, whatever arises. Means that the purity of your mind is simple awareness. Awareness is not the subject. Awareness reveals the subject. The subject and object dance together, moving, weaving patterns. But awareness doesn't change. So the error is to imagine that there is a fixed content in the mind, and that is me, myself, and then that I'm somehow in charge of all that's happening in this mental arena. When the mind is purified, it's just awareness, present, but ungraspable. Now we gain the blessing of the mind of the Guru. That means our minds are not different. Now you receive this third initiation, the Sherabyeshi initiation of true knowing and original knowing. This means that the clarity of your mind arises, illuminating the truth of the brightness of your mind. Like on a beautiful summer's morning when there are no clouds, before the sun has come above the horizon, you just get this equal blue, and the infinite depth and emptiness of the sky and the brightness, the appearance of the sky are inseparable. Now your mind is empowered to meditate on the bliss void Mahamudra. So, bliss void here is a bit like if you touch your arm or if you're making love with someone, there is sensation. In that situation, you don't need. You want the touch and the sensation to be co-emergent. There's nothing to think about. You open to the sensation, which has no beginning or end. It's just this. And it's fully here, but it's not something, and it's empty. So this is the Mahamudra. Mahamudra simply means that what arises in the mind and the mind itself are not two things. You now have the opportunity to gain the fruition of the Dharmakaya intrinsic mode. So this is how the mind is before it becomes artificial, or when it's free of artificiality. What I see is light, what I hear is sound, what arises in my mind is bright display of the potential of the mind. So this is the empty aspect, the immediate empty aspect of the appearance. Now this is quite strong. We need to make a cocktail. So we're going to add some, I don't know, soda water or something. The soda water is probably doesn't really have much purpose, but makes the alcohol quicker to bring into the bloodstream. So this added drink is conceptualization, pretty worthless, and overprivileged. So if you like alcohol, you say to the barman, "Don't drown my drink." Means the emptiness of the sound is the big thing. That's the main drink. I want to taste the emptiness. Don't put the fucking Coca-Cola on top. We drown the whole world in our conceptualization. The Dharmakaya is described as fresh, naked, raw. It's just this, like a shot of vodka. So you can use concepts when you need them, but otherwise everything is very open and bright. Now you have the chance to gain the Vajra mind, means awareness, which is indestructible because it's inseparable from emptiness. Then imagine that your body becomes full of rays of blue light. Stay with this for some time. Then the next paragraph is addressing problem of splitting. So we say we have Dharmakaya, Sambhogakaya, Nirmanakaya, or mind and speech and body. 1, 2, 3. But the three are linked into the hand. So this next verse, or the next paragraph, is to say these three are inseparable. Although we are communicating through language, and the function of language is to separate out entities and create patterns, the truth is that all three are coming at once. So from the Guru's forehead, throat, and heart, rays of white, red, and blue light, respectively, radiate out simultaneously and melt into your body, speech, and mind, purifying any remnants of confusions or defilement. Through this, you gain the blessing of body, speech, mind, activities, and qualities. You get the fourth initiation, which is the word initiation. So you are thus empowered to meditate on your own mind as voidness and effortlessly arising clarity. What this means is that in your usual ego identity, you are always very busy trying to work out what's going on. That is to say, the clarity that you achieve is the product of your mental activity, as if life is some kind of crossword puzzle. But what this is saying is that there is an immediate clarity, the clarity of emptiness, which is self-illuminating. It's just this. So as some of us have looked before, it's better to see how it is like this. Because if you ask what is it, then the factory starts producing meanings and explanations and linkings. Now, in a world where people have social media and they might carry their mobile phone in their hand a lot of the time, always connecting through messaging, this we have to really watch, because a media like that is effortless. You send a message to someone and they get it immediately. But doesn't mean anything like that, because the messenger, the app or whatever is very quick, but it's not effortless, because you have to press the button. I am sending a message to you, subject, verb, object. But here, this is immediate, effortless, no subject, no object, but clear. You now have the opportunity of gaining the Svabhavika Kaya, the inseparability of these three modes. And you can gain the 4 Kaya modes. Then imagine that your body becomes filled with these rays of white, red, and blue light. So meditate on this for some time. So what we've done so far is we have emptied out our body and filled it with white, red, and blue light. This body of light has nothing else. It's not light inside my skin bag. There's no skin bags, only light. And it's free of obscuration. So this, you have to have this absolutely clear. And then we go into the next part, which is intensify your devotion. Your guru is in front of you. Body is light. Your body is light, and you're full of longing. You just want to be so close. You want to merge together. Then he comes to the top of your head, and his body is red, white, blue, yellow, and green. The yellow and green are for the qualities and the activities. So then this body of light starts to kind of bend. It just folds into itself, becoming smaller and smaller till it's a small ball of 5-colored light. And it's folding in and comes into your body, so that light is flowing into light. So now the guru's body, speech, and mind and your body, speech, and mind are inseparable, like water poured into water. And in that state, the 3 root afflicting poisons, mental dullness, aversion, and desire are purified. So avoiding all contrivance, let your mind abide in its spontaneous original presence. So you can sit just with this movement of light, or you can let the light come together as a small ball and dissolve to a tiny point, and then into nothing at all, like an open sky. You can see what's good for you. Open emptiness is sometimes very helpful, and sometimes with more emphasis on the clarity. Remember, they are non-dual and inseparable. So this is the main thing. This is the mind itself. Movement within empty stillness. When light moves in the sky, it's unobstructed. There is nothing which stands in the way of the light. In the same way, the movement of this light is not blocked by anything. The vital point is that you're not sitting on your meditation mat imagining this. Otherwise, you won't come out of duality. Devotion, if we go back to what we looked at in the morning, devotion, the abandonment of your own importance, your own territory, that makes you a kind of servant. I will do whatever is required. It is this softening and dissolving and availability which allows the complete merger into the light. So then there's just openness. After some time, thoughts, feelings, sounds from outside and so on arise. Now your experience is infinite. So you hear a dog barking. Inside, no, because it's outside. I'm in here. But here is an idea arising in the mind. Outside is an idea arising in the mind. Dog barking is an idea in the mind. The sky-like mind is infinite and uninterrupted by the movement of these momentary patternings, coming, going, self-arising, self-dissolving. So we stay with that as long as you can. And the more you get used to do this, you can do the whole practice very, very quickly. And as I said, And for those of you who don't have an experience of this kind of practice, you can take this loving, the lotus born, which is on the website now, and use that as the basis for the practice. If he says then, if your meditation later weakens, you must strive and pray day and night. You don't get lost, don't get distracted. So says, by the power of the Guru's blessing, those who practice this over time will certainly receive a blessing. And this next part is very important. So you see your meditation will improve, and then you can have confidence. Then he says, there is no need to follow many different dharma methods. So if you foster faith and devotion to your guru and the state of awareness, then there is no need for any other method. Now, this was the heart of Siya Lama's teaching. If you find yourself not different from the guru, this is all three kayas. This is already the openness of the mind. And in fact, all the great gurus that I was lucky to study with, they all said the same thing. The central thing is to dissolve the duality of subject and object, to free yourself from the delusion that you are a subject, and to remain relaxed and open in awareness, which is hospitable to whatever is occurring. Although this may seem very simple, it's the heart of the practice. This is guruyoga. In the Dzogchen, we have the guruyoga of the white owl. In the Namkhai Norbu said so many times, this is the one essential practice. He taught so many other practices. And sometimes he described them as supplementary practices. They help in some way. But the guruyoga is the main thing. By really gaining the power of the Guru's blessing, you beginners will directly understand the Dharmakaya, or the intrinsic mode of your own mind, without requiring the Guru to explain it by teaching. Because it's through the practice that you get the benefit. There are endless things to be said about Dharma. There's no end to explanations. And you can write notes again and again. And when you finish writing your notes, you put them in its folder, and you put the the folder on a shelf. Every month you take the dust off the top. Better to put the notes into a pan and boil it and drink it. When you die, you leave your books. The central point of what we have done today, you can write on one piece of A4 paper. This is enough. Devotion to the other merges self and other into non-duality. Then this is again very, very important. With your intrinsic awareness, you will understand the falsity of your ordinary state of mind, and you will clearly open to and directly experience the intrinsic mode of original presence, your own Buddha mind. Of course, at first, the tendency to merge into whatever is arising in the mind is very strong. But gradually you start to see that, oh, you're quite relaxed. You're contented. So this is the flavor of the Dharmakayas, contentment. The ego is always busy sorting things out, more or less, more or less. But the Dharmakaya is peaceful. So the more you are able to not do, the more you see your own habit formations arising, pulling you like the sirens pulling Odysseus onto the rocks. And then you realize that the currency of the world, the currency of duality, of your knowledge, your skills, your capacities, and so on, they don't buy anything in the Dharma land. And in fact, in Dharma land, everything is free. So the outer form of that, when you read about going to Dewachen or Sukhavati, everything, Dharma is in the air, all the birds are singing Dharma, it's very easy to get enlightenment. There's no temptation. So now you start to see, oh, I get lost because getting lost is the ego's business. The ego lives in lostness the way a fish lives in the sea. when the ego comes into the sky of awareness, it just dissolves like mist. So then he says, you must always remember the great kindness of your guru. For us, we didn't learn these things in our family. We didn't learn them in school. We have to look and find someone who can explain this clearly to us so that we are confident in how to do it. So this is the path to simple, enduring happiness. So this attitude of faith and devotion is the profound path to your own liberation. As long as you think that thoughts and feelings and sensations are things that you can move around, composing patterns, you're trapped as the egoic doer and maker. Now we see everything dissolves in light. The light is movement, it's rays spreading out. And this light is how we are. We are not things, we are not people, we are rays of manifestation. And then you can be used to expanding your body, shrinking your body. There are many, many things you can do when you see that your body is very insubstantial. So he says, whether you have happiness or sadness, pray. In sickness and fever, pray. Going or staying, pray. If you can always pray one pointedly, this single dharma path will be sufficient for your liberation. So hopefully you understand the structure now. The individual ego needs to fuse with the other. So subject and object merge, and in that merge, they are nothing, and out of nothing comes everything. Then he says, but if you do not act in that way, then you will lose your faith and abandon your devotion and firm belief. That is to say, dharma is not an idea. We are energy. This energy will disperse very easily. You can get some torches for going out at night, and you turn turn it around near the lens, and the ray opens up or goes to a point. We tend to be quite dispersed. So when he says pray, it means gather yourself together, gather yourself together. If you are all in one place, then when the light comes from the guru's body, everything is purified. But if you are not in your body, there will always be remnants of confusion floating around you. You will think it's sufficient to fulfill only a few of your tantric vows. The most important of the tantric vows is, without entering into pride, never think badly of yourself. Don't come to any conclusion about yourself or other people. Stay on the moment with what's arising. But if you lose your faith, you will fall away from dharma and become useless. It's vital to avoid all such laziness and falsity. So start immediately to practice with the utmost diligence. So diligence here doesn't mean energetic striving. It means to have a tender appreciation of the beauty and the value of the teacher. It's not about forcing yourself. It's not about making something happen. The teacher is always there. Padmasambhava is always available. If you turn and look, Padmasambhava is there, ready for you. So the diligence is gentle and soft and connective. And he says, if you do the mantra practice of a personal deity, a yidam, without praying with faith and devotion to your guru as the essence of all the Buddhas of the three times, then this is a very mistaken approach. So why is focusing on the guru better than focusing on the deity? Because the deity arrives on your terms, but the guru is the guru. You don't own them, you don't control them, and yet you want to stay open to them. That's why they often say, may problems be the path. What looks like a difficulty, which could cause you to conceptualize and start judging, is also a choice point. That is to say, judge on the object or open to the subject. Everything is my own mind. The guru is your own mind. And this aspect of your mind is not doing what you want. The fact that everything is your mind doesn't mean that your little ego is in charge of everything. So the flesh and blood teacher is troubling. This trouble is a blessing. If the guru is happy, then the Buddhas are happy. If you attain your guru's level, then you've attained the level of all the Buddhas. Moreover, when you see that there is some fault in your meditation on the guru, remember that your guru is the actual Buddha himself and without the least fault. Therefore, you must see that the faults are due to your own badness and impure understanding. Again, it's very important. This is not the kind of entry ticket into some weird cult where you have to pretend to yourself that some crazy bastard is really enlightened. If I know that there is a lot wrong with you, and I'm thinking about how limited you are, then I'm increasing a gap between you and myself. But if I start to think negatively about you and I catch it, fuck, there I go again, all these negative thoughts, blaming, judging, then I can gather this movement of the mind into this space. Then praying to the guru, I can dissolve this in the light coming from the guru's three places. This is the function of the practice. Being the judge is a hopeless place to be. So when you see any faults in the guru, you must see that they are in fact your own, and immediately commence the antidote of confession. Confession means you are not bad, I have bad thoughts, and the bad thoughts are not intrinsic to me. Now, when children come in from playing and they want to eat something, you have to say, go and wash your hands. They say, no, they're clean. Let me see. So the mom said, oh, look how dirty they are. But they don't feel dirty, mom. Look, they're just my hands. Well, the child is wise. All faults and limitations are extrinsic. They are adventitious, coming from some starting point. So when we see this, then confession and purification is very easy. I'm a dirty Buddha, but the Buddha is always clean. But nonetheless, I should have a bath, although I'm always clean. Yet I am a dirty Buddha. So you need to be kind to yourself in that way. Know that you have faults, but don't take them too seriously, and they are not a true definition of who you are. So then he says, the root of all meditational practices is praying to your accomplished guru and protecting the mind from contrivance. Contrivance means the unnecessary, effortful construction of patterns, where there is an egoic intentionality. The ground is the source of everything. Awareness reveals what is arising. Moving within this, the apparitional form of our own body of light is speaking and walking and talking and eating and so on. This is simple and complex. Don't waste time analyzing. Enter the blessing of the practice, and then everything comes clear. So then he says, so we must all practice this strongly with faith and devotion. Please bear this in mind. So that brings us to the end of the first section of this text by Chetsangpa. And we have two more meetings to look at Dzogchen aspects. So thank you very much for your attention. I hope this is useful. This text was the first real text I translated with Sia Lama, and it was the essence of his teaching to me. I have a long history with this text. So thank you to Milton and Juan and Robert for translating. As I said before, Pedro will organize the recordings and Barbara will put them on the website so you can hear them later. And if you like, we meet again with some question and answer, but also the next 2 weekends.
All right. All right.
Thank you.
Bye.
Ricardo.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
All of you.
Pleasure. Ciao.
Thank you, James. Thank you. Thank
James.
you very much.
Bien.
Awesome.